Now, as I mentioned, the My Reports folder feature is disabled by default on a new reporting services server. So you have to enable it, and it has to be a system administrator that does it before any user can use it. It's not implemented per user, but it's a feature that has to be implemented for all users. Good news is that it's easy enough to do using an instance of Management Studio that's connected to the reporting services instance. So I'll come down here, fire up Management Studio. And I don't want the database engine, I want the reporting services engine. I'll connect to localhost, this can be the machine name, or you can do the same thing to a remote server that you have access to on the network. In this case, Windows authentication is fine, so I'll log in that way, but if you want to, you can use basic authentication or forms authentication, depending on how you've configured your reporting services instance. And I'll go ahead and connect. And now I can administer this instance of reporting services. So the way I get to where I want to go is I need to change the properties of the server. So I'll right-click on it, and lo and behold, notice that Properties is disabled. Well, this is yet another example of a security issue. I need to run Management Studio, even though I myself have administrative rights to this reporting services instance. I need to run Management Studio as an administrator to be able to get access. This isn't going to apply. This is going to be a problem in all security environments, but going against the local machine, even though I have administrative rights, it's a problem. Okay, so let's do it again. And this time, I'm of course going to right-click on this, right-click there, and run as an administrator, and I get the UAC dialog box. I'll once again make sure that I'm going to connect to the reporting services instance, not the database engine or analysis services or anything else. And now I can come in here, right-click on it, and select Properties. So I mostly just show you that so that you know if you face that problem. If Properties is disabled, it's almost certainly a permissions issue. I suppose Management Studio could be corrupted, but that's a whole different set of problems. Okay, so I want to be on the General page. And here is the option right there. Enable a My Reports folder for each user. Okay, so I'll select that. And then you can also select a role to apply to each My Reports folder. Okay, again, I'm not going to dwell on security here, but you can set up different roles with different kinds of permissions on those different folders. Click on OK there, and it's configured. That's all you need to do in order to enable this. All right, I'll minimize Management Studio. And here we are back in the home page of Report Manager. Notice that nothing's different because it's a web interface, doesn't automatically get updated as things change on the server, so I need to refresh this. And now you can see that I actually have two new folders. One is the My Reports. If I go into that, there's no items in My Reports. Surprise, surprise, I haven't put anything there. It's a brand new folder. Okay, and you can see that it says use this folder to store personalized. Let's go ahead and see the full description there, that reporting services. Whoops. Okay, I don't have permissions to look at the description on that. So anyway, so this is my Reports folder. Okay, I can't set properties on it, which is why I didn't have permissions to that. Okay, so each user is going to see this as long as they're members of the role that I specified when I enabled My Reports. Okay? Now, I as a user, even not as an admin, can add content to the folder in the same way that any content manager on the server adds reports to other folders. I have complete control, even again as a non-admin, I have complete control over what goes on within that folder. And I can also do things like create subfolders within that folder and create as complex a hierarchy as I want, okay, as a user. All right, so that's the My Reports. That's mostly what I'm talking about. But notice that I also got this Users folder. Well, this appears because I'm logged in to Reporting Services as a system administrator. Okay, so if I go in here, you'll notice that I only have one because there's only one user who's active on the server. That's me. I have access to the My Reports folder of every user as a system admin. So this is very convenient because a lot of times users mess things up. They'll put reports in there. They can't figure out how to clean it up. And so I, as a system admin, can go into, in this case, Don Kiley's folder and do things. Drill down. There's no reports there, so I can't really do anything with it. But I'm able to go in as an admin and change the properties of different objects and so forth. Okay? So just be aware of that. And again, the only reason I see that is because I'm a sysadmin. If I'm not a sysadmin, then that's not going to be visible to your typical user. Okay, so what can you do with My Reports as a user? Well, if a user has access to report files, those RDL files, such as those that are created using SQL Server data tools, then the user can upload them to this folder regardless of any permissions or lack thereof in other folders. So I, as a user, may not be able to do anything, put new reports in sample reports, because that's essentially a shared folder that everyone can see. But I can go wild adding stuff to My Reports. All right, then users can also create a linked report from another existing report that they have access to on the report server. And that's a real nice feature because say I'm a user in the finance department, there's 3 reports I do all the time, that I use all the time, that I run all the time. Now those might be in 3 different folders with a complex hierarchy, and I may have to click for 5 minutes before I get access to each folder or each report in this deep nest of folders. What I can do is I can add a linked report to the My Reports folder. That way all I have to do is log into Report Manager, come over here to My Reports, and I can click on the linked report and I go directly to the report as though I had navigated to that report down within the hierarchy. Okay, so let's look at creating a linked report. So again, I as a user have access to these sample reports. I can run them all. And in this case, I want to create a linked server or a linked report to company orders. Okay, so I'll just run the report first. And as you can see, this shows a lot of information about the different orders, and it's by company and sorted by date and so forth. Okay, so very useful report. So all I need to do is come in here, select this right here, and the Create Linked Report option. Okay, and here I can give it a name. Most of the time I'm going to create a linked report with the name that's the same as the report. So I'll do that, except I'll add a space just to make it look a little bit nicer. And I can add my own description to it, regardless of the description that the person who created and put that report on the server in the first place. This is my own description. And so I'll say a linked report to the standard company orders report. And I can go wild with what I include there. All right, location, sample reports. I don't want to put it there. That's just going to create a linked report to a report in the same folder. The only reason I could do that is because I'm actually an admin. So I'm going to change that location. And I'm going to come here to My Reports. I could drill down there if I have nested folders. I haven't created any subfolders yet, so I can't do that. So it's just going to be in My Reports. And I'll click on OK. And then I could also look at the different options here. I can't really do much with all of this because it's changing how the report is defined. But there are options that I can do and change. Oh, well, that's good. I just got rid of. I should have saved my changes. Okay, so let me put all this back in real quick. Okay, I'll change the location one more time. So let that be a lesson to you. Save your changes before, and there we go. Okay, so I'm back in the report. It goes ahead and runs it. So I'll go back up here to Home and look in My Reports. Oh, good. Okay, phew. I was nervous there for a second that it was going to disappear again because I navigated around. But there we go. Link report to the standard company orders and so forth. And I have some little bit of control over it. I can move this, I can delete it because it's my own linked report. It's not going to delete the underlying company orders that I have no permissions to delete if I'm just a regular user. I can subscribe to it, I can create another linked report, I can manage it, I can change the name, for example, if I want to, and so forth, and the description. Okay, so that's creating a linked report, one of the sort of things that I can do as just a regular user within my reports folder. In Report Builder, all you do is you'd navigate to My Reports using the Save As Report dialog box. So that makes it really easy to do. In SQL Server Data Tools, it's a little bit less intuitive. So I'm going to open up these sample reports. This is the project that deploys the sample reports for this course to the report server. All right, so what I need to do in this case is come over here to Solution Explorer, right-click on the report project properties, and right there, the target report folder. So the reason all of those reports, when I deployed them to this machine using this project, they went to sample reports, is because that was the setting right there for that property. All I would need to do there is change the property to My Reports, and then they'll go into My Reports. Now, one caveat, depending on how your server is configured, a non-administrative user using SQL Server Data Tools like this may actually need to set the target report folder property to something like users folders, the literal string users folders, / server name, localhost or whatever the server name is, space username, / my reports to get the report to the right location. So if you try to use this technique as a regular user, a non-administrative user, to a server that you have access to, just be aware that you may need to change the format of that. Rather than just saying My Reports, which would just look like this, you don't need any slashes or anything, or I'm sorry, My Reports, then you may need to include that other information. So just one little caveat on that.